Hey guys, Chris here again for Project Nerf, and today we're going to modify one of my all-time favorites, a Stampede. Let's get to it. Okay, and we've got all of the million screws out of this thing. I know people bitch about screws in long shots. The Stampede has 35 or 36 if you don't include the two to pull the battery tray. Speaking of the battery tray, in this region, okay, inside right here there's a sticker that you have to cut down the middle. It's right on the middle of a seam to get this apart. But we've got this ready. So one of the first things that you're going to do is get a sharp knife or a wire dike or a scissor to cut the wire to the switch, because we're going to get rid of most, if not all, of this wiring in here anyway. And you can see where that's coming up right here. Right there, so we're going to pull that wire and cut it off. We'll save some length on it in case we want to reuse that switch for something. Okay, let's take a look at the internals here. So we've got the positive and negative battery springs. Those are going to go. A ferrite bead here is to help with interference. There's another one up here. And there's just switches everywhere. There's a switch here, here, here. One somewhere up high for the jam door. The one under here is actually the main firing trigger. So, whole lot's going on in here, and a lot of people just do not mess with it. I've seen a lot of very bad modifications. They come in here, they wire a LiPo directly to these springs, you know, run them through this wiring. I would not recommend that. This wiring is not designed to handle the current from a LiPo battery. It's just best if you're going to rewire and do a voltage upgrade to do it properly and just do direct wiring. So we're going to get rid of most of this stuff. The Stampede obviously has a little bit different firing mechanism than you're used to seeing because it's a springer. So underneath this cover here, you can see we've got our big plunger tube with our gear train on it. Okay, what happens is when you pull the trigger, it actuates this white lever, pushes the micro switch, tells the motor to go, which is connected to the gearbox underneath. The main gear winds this spring, or winds the gear, pushes the plunger tube forward. It's already caught here at the back. The catch is already, oh, you can't see that, my bad. The catch is already hooked up, so it runs the plunger tube forward, pulling the spring back in it as it goes, till it gets to a point where it hits the release down here for the catch, and then the plunger shoots forward and catches up with the rest of the tube. This spring here pushes the whole mechanism back, auto catches again, rinse, repeat. Anyway, let's get the plunger tube out of it, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, to remove the plunger tube from Stampede, we first have to remove the 5 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in this top plate, which I've already done, and we're going to take this off. Okay, even up here, the spring retainer, we take the front screw out and loosen this lower one so we can pick it up and swing it around. So we're going to lift this up now. Swing it around like that. Okay, we're going to lift up on the plunger tube, and pretty much the only thing we have to do at this point is get it out of the catch. And so there we go. So, you notice that I just kind of pulled back on the spring a little bit, triggered the catch, and it popped right out of there. That's the complete plunger assembly. That will shoot a dart as is. Leave the rest of it as is. We're going to modify this plunger, and so we're going to set the gun aside, and we get the plunger apart, get our springs and stuff out of it, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that. Okay, we've got our plunger tube. I'll show you guys a couple of things that you will want to remember when you're handling this. Taking it apart, reassembling, and disassembling. The roller wheels, obviously, go to the top side of the body. The cutout here for the catch points up, and the rear cap has a tip on it, right here, that points down. So remember that orientation when you go to put this together. There were 2 screws in the rear cap, which I've already loosened up quite a bit, but unscrew those. And there you have it. There is our plunger rod. And it's looking pretty dry in there. Whoops. Anyway, I was getting ready to say that the rear cap just pulls off at this point. You can take your spring off. And I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. There we go. The air restrictor is still in there. I'm going to show you how to get that out in just a minute. Let's take a look at some of the things we're going to need to get our plunger tube back in shape here. Okay, you can see we've got our stock spring. This is our upgrade spring. This one is from Blaster Tech. It's a 6 kilogram spring, and you can see it's a heavier spring. Definitely, it's got a lot more oomph to it. So we've got our upgraded spring, our E-tape to improve our seal on our O-ring. You can also use Teflon tape. This is a piece of just black craft foam that we're going to cut out to pad the tip of our plunger head. And then our trusty hot glue gun and glue sticks to kill the dead space in here. We're going to fill up these holes with hot glue. Same thing with these cutouts. Hopefully I can get that to focus for you right here at the tip of my finger. We're going to fill those in and then trim it back down nice and round and then pad the front of this. And what that's going to do is kill dead space so that this pushes air more efficiently. Probably a wrap of E-tape underneath the tube. We're going to re-grease everything, knock that AR out of there, and we may even make some variety of dead space reducer for the inside of the tube. So we got a little work ahead. Let me get on that, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, you can see we've got that cover off still, and I've taken the plunger rod and spring and everything out of the back, so you can actually see how this mechanism works. Okay, when you pull the trigger, okay, the gear spins up, catches the teeth on the bottom of the plunger tube, and begins to slide forward. Now watch here. As the plunger tube slides forward, okay, even if you let go of the trigger, okay, has no effect. See here? Trigger works. Okay, once it gets that far, it doesn't matter. So, once it gets this far, it is guaranteed to run all the way up the front of the plunger tube here. We'll catch, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. See the orange tab right here under my thumb. Okay, that's for the dart gate. So it's going to hit that, push the dart gate down, and you can actually see the dart gate drop here. And the dart door swings open. And you can see there's a significant gap in that. And this is why it's really, really, really hard to do stampedes with brass breeches for full-length darts. That gap here is just so big that by the time you take a mag and put in it, with a dart in it, okay, that's locked in there, okay, but the dart wants to sit here, so your brass would have to sit so far out that you probably couldn't load your mag. So it can really be a pain as far as that goes, but I just wanted to show you guys exactly how that works. Now, I said when you're going really fast, the cycle arm, what happens is if you're going really, really fast, okay, what happens is it doesn't return quick enough to get all the way off, and it holds it. So it literally just continually does this and runs non-stop. You see the arm isn't moving. So if you're going to keep this lever intact, you're going to have to upgrade your return spring and probably your catch and release springs as well to stop it from doing that runaway fire. And again, I'm going to show you how to eliminate this completely. You do not need it. We're simply going to hook a switch up directly to the trigger to cycle this. And it's the way I've always done them. It's simpler, it's easier, and it it makes more room inside the blaster food. So, but I wanted to show you that. I'm gonna get the hot glue gun ready, and we're gonna start modifying that plunger head. Okay, so there we have that. We put our E-tape underneath our O-ring, just one wrap all the way around. Normally is plenty. We've killed our dead space, made our pad for our plunger tube out of the foam, and our plunger head and plunger rod assembly is all done. We don't have to do anything else with that. Just to give you an idea here, we've got the tube. We're going to put this in. Hopefully you can hear it on cam. This is a really, really nice seal. Okay, and that's what you want. It still moves quite easily, but it is definitely pushing air. So, success right there. Okay, now as for the plunger tube, we're looking at the AR down in there now. There's a few different ways to get that AR out of there. My preferred method is to take my long standard screwdriver and miniature hammer. You're going to stand it up like so, put the screwdriver down in it, and just knock the tabs that hold the AR in out of there. Now, I'm not going to do this for you on camera, but you get the idea. Line that up, whack it a few times with a hammer until that plastic peg in there's 3 of them, gives way, and then the entire AR assembly and spring will dump back out of the plunger this way. So I'm going to knock that out of there and get back to you. Okay, here's all of our little pieces of the AR. I should be able to see through there now. Yeah. The inside of it here actually narrows quite a bit. It cuts down a lot of the dead space. We could make a reducer to kill a little more if you were really, really going for the killer stuff, and we always do. So what we're going to do is make a dead space reducer for the inside of the barrel that's consistent. So what we're going to do first is drill this out with our long 1/2-inch drill bit. And we're not going to go too far. We don't need to go far. The dart's going to sit back in there about that. So it's going to come to roughly inside the tube. It's going to put roughly right about where my finger's at. So we only need to drill from the opposite side to pretty close to that. So we'll take a long drill bit, drill this section out real quick, and I'll show you how to make a reducer that'll fit inside. Okay, as you can see here, we've made some modifications to our plunger tube. Now we cut this off and drilled it out and inserted a piece of 17/32 brass. Now, in all fairness, it would probably feed and chamber a little better if this ran the length of the guide tooth, but the piece of brass I had wasn't that long, so I was making do with what I had. If we put this in here, and have kind of chamfered it, I don't know how well you can see it, around the edges there, so that darts will feed into it. Okay, the principle behind this is that 17/32 brass is a much tighter fit on the darts, which chamber about that far, than the plastic barrel. And I can grab the plunger tube, or plunger rod rather. Okay, and I can already feel the resistance on that. So we'll give this a push, and out she goes. So, and you can see it runs all the way into the plunger tube right here to the end. This line is where the darts push back to. So we're going to reduce the dead space in this area by diminishing the size of our 17/32. We're going to take 1/2 inch, cut it to length, pull our smooth cast 65D plastic in it, drill a new size hole, probably 3/8, then install it and epoxy it in place so that the inner diameter of that is smaller. Forcing the same volume of air to a smaller space creates higher pressure. Higher pressure is what we want, since this is really all we have for a barrel. The front part of the Stampede isn't a barrel, it's simply just faux. So everything to do with power happens right here. in this, so we want to optimize as much as we can get it for the spring load that we're going to run. So I'm going to go ahead and make that dead space reducer. I'll get back to you, show you what it looks like when it's all put together. Okay, we have completed our dead space reducer. There you go, you can see down in there the white plastic of the smooth cast. And there's not a lot of extra dead space in here, but there is some, so we wanted to reduce it just a little bit. We're upgrading it to the 6K Blaster Tech spring. All of this has been sanded and taken care of, so all we got to do is pop the rear cap and put our track back on here, and we're good to go. So now I want to point out one more time, guys, all of this extra stuff up here, the cutting and the shaping and the dead space reduction, that is not at all necessary. We could have knocked out the AR and called it a day with this. Anyway, we're going to put this plunger tube back together and go on and start the electronics. Okay guys, sorry I didn't actually show you the wiring on camera here. There was really no need. It's a very simple wiring schematic that we're doing here, but I'm going to walk you through it really quick. As you can see over here, we've got our battery. We've wired on our XT60 connector. So let's start with the negative wire on the plug here. Negative runs down, runs to this point here where it splits. One side of it goes to the top post on the motor, which is your negative. Assuming you didn't take the motor out, all we did was unsolder the board. So there was no need to remove the motor to do that. So the second part of it from our split runs down to the normally closed contactor on our 16 amp micro switch. Simple as that. And that's going to be a braking mechanism for us. I'll explain that a little more in just a sec. The hot lead from our battery, okay, runs in, comes down to the normally open contactor on the switch, not the common. And the reason being is that when the switch is open, like it is right now, okay, the normally closed and the common are connected. Okay, so we've already got a negative running to the normally closed, and if you run the hot lead from the battery to the common, it's going to short out and catch on fire, so we don't want to do that. So either do not add the braking element into it, and then you can put your positive on your common tab, or if you are going to add braking, remember to add your hot lead from your battery to the normally open part of your switch. The common runs up to the positive terminal on the motor. And that's it, guys. It's a very, very simple wiring schematic. Coming off of the bottom of the switch here, I've got this small plug, and that's for our voltmeter. What I've chosen to do, hopefully you can see this here, is retain, and you can see the alternate plug on the other side. We're going to put, we got our voltmeter in here, and we hooked it into the original on-off switch. So let me get that hooked up, and we'll see if we can't get that to go on camera here for you. Let's see if I can get everything setting. Okay, that's hooked in. So, and remember, all we should have to do is flip this down to the on position, and that should light up our voltmeter. And there we go. So, very, very easy and simple wiring schematic. A pretty cool trick right there with the voltmeter. The reason we do the plug is so that we can still butterfly the blaster and take it apart if we need to. So I'm going to button this thing up, get it on the chrono, and I'll get right back to you. Alright guys, we've completed all the mods on the Stampede. I hope you enjoyed the video. Really quickly, let's go over what we did. We removed all of the electronic and mechanical locks, improved our seal on the plunger tube, brassed out the plunger tube, though, confessingly, I didn't see where it really made any real difference in FPS, maybe 1 or 2, but nothing to get in a tiff over. I myself would not do that alone again, just as a heads up. You can see we've installed our voltmeter here, and that's running on the stock on switch, so that when you flip it, your voltage comes up. It runs great on pretty much any LiPo. I've tested it now on a 2 through a 5S, though 5 is a bit much. 3 and 4 are both very, very good. It feeds great, shoots well. It chronoed out about 75 feet a second. All in all, just a nice Stampede.
If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Remember to rate, like, comment, subscribe. Check out our website at projectnerfva.com. And guys, till next time, this is Chris for Project Nerf saying, have a blast.